Hello, am I in focus? There we go, kind of. Hello and welcome to a special edition of our Road to Victory series, where I will be discussing the changes to each of the generic jobs in War of the Lions, but for PvP. So, in case you're wondering, are squires good? Are dark knights just as nasty? Do time mages actually have viability in a competitive PvP environment? Well, the answer is Tactics League definitely put in the effort, and we are closer now to a balanced PvP meta than ever before. So if you're hesitant to jump in and compete against other players who have been doing this for a while now, I don't blame you. And that's what this episode is all about. To explain the generic jobs in detail, give you a preview of some of their abilities, and hopefully inspire you to go into War of the Lions on your own and put together a couple lists with the PvP mod installed. So, with that said, I will be joined by YoshnJa, the moderator of Tactics League Discord, which is the place to go if you're looking for a match and your friends aren't readily available. So he will be joining me as well for this stream to help discuss some of the design philosophies that went into each of these jobs, because they are different than what you would find in the normal game. So he's going to be joining me soon in the Discord, but for now, let's just jump in the game and get our units set up. I do have like a little test environment in which we can kind of freely explore each of these jobs. All set? I know I am. I will see you on the other side. Just saying hi to folks in chat. Bruno, how's it going? Welcome. And Dr. J, watching the stream while at work. Admire your style, buddy. Well, cool. So first thing we are going to do is check up on the Discord. So sorry that we're going to lose the game real quick. It's going to come back, I promise. Where's my Discord? There we go. Okay. So let's take it off the mute. Yosh, are you there?
I am.
He is! Welcome. Say hi to all of our followers, loyal and true.
Welcome, followers, loyal and true, to another exciting Tactics Live Tournament Edition live stream.
For Tactics Tuesdays, which it's like 5th week in a row. It's got to be a thing by now.
Yeah, pretty much is. Pretty much is.
Well, excellent. So everyone grab your tacos, because we are going to go right into a melee match. I am going to go ahead and stream in the Discord so you can not have lag.
Okay. Good.
As is courtesy, of course.
Of course.
Can you see my stream okay?
Yes, sure can.
Excellent. Okay. So I have a laptop here on my desk that I have my tournament roster loaded up, and they're going to be my dummies. So it kind of gives us an idea of like how would just some basically equipped job, like each job, perform against our upcoming tournament roster. It's nothing to do with the tournament roster, but more of like, I tried to deck them out as best as I could. And so hopefully they make a realistic dummy, what we would see in a normal PvP match. All right,
sure.
let's get started. So I'm gonna host with my PC, join with my laptop, and so we are going to remove the action limits. We're just gonna go crazy, and we're gonna remove special controls and traps. Yes, I accept these rules that I have written for myself, and we're going straight to Orbone, so we can just get right into the thick of it.
Perfect.
Alright, so what I've done is I've broken out the jobs into various save files. So we're going to start from Squire and work our way all the way back to Onion Knight and Mime. So we got 4 matches to go through.
Sounds good.
It's only 22 jobs.
It's gonna take like 30 minutes, you know?
Yeah. We'll just blast right through it. So for this first one, we're going to be looking at Squire, Knight, Archer, Chemist, and White Mage. And I've even gendered them to their preferred gender, depending on who you ask.
Sure. Of course.
Let's see. Let's load up my troops. So today we're going to be playing against Delita, but then we got the usual suspects, Rico, Bart, Emeralda, and Elheim. These names mean nothing to most people. Alright, let's get in there. Hello to Geek Sanchez, I'm guessing. Maybe a silly question, but when you match, what kind of equipment would your units use? Is there equipment that needs to be grinded aside from tactics? Someone start matching for minute 1. So I think what you're asking is, do I need to earn any of the equipment in the PvP mod? And the answer is no. So the mod comes with a save file, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, YoshnJa. But the save file has all the equipment you'll need, and there's no adding to the save file. Like, you don't buy extra items. You just play it as is straight away. So
Correct.
Yes, to answer your question, yes, you can play minute 1. Just download the mod, make your squad with whatever's available, and find someone to play against, and you're good to go. Let me go ahead. Go ahead, Yosh.
I was just saying, I mean, pretty much, you know, echoing what you were saying. The mod and the save data are bundled as an all-in-one package, so you will need both. You will need to patch your original game with the mod to, you know, get the Tactics League changes, and then you'll also need the save data, which includes the limitations on the gear and stuff. But all that stuff is provided to you right off the bat. Everything's level 99. Job maxed out, all the abilities unlocked, all the gear provided to you that is within the restrictions. So, you know, all gear have a base limit of 3, but some are considered semi-limited or limited based on its power. Yeah, all that's provided to you, so you can download and play pretty much right away.
Right away. Straight to playing. Straight to melee. Right away.
Straight to.
So let's... Winter is coming. Hi, how's it going? Welcome. Love that name. So let's talk about the Squire real quick. Like, just from a high level, what kind of role do they sort of fit in? Are they like a support? Are they bruisers? Are they like just solidly DPS or somewhere in the middle?
The envision with Squire is that it's primarily a utilitarian fighter. It's mostly which fits the support line. They're not designed to do a lot of damage. What they're designed to do is be pretty much a pest to your opponent with their reworked fundaments, as well as their various accessibility to different gear. Probably the easiest way to explain Squire in the PvP patches, it's basically Onion Knight light. They don't have access to all the gear in the game, but all the types of equipment, but they definitely have access to a vast majority of it.
Right, so speaking of which, I think the biggest difference is, yes, you have daggers and swords, and flails and axes still, but now you have access to rods, which have their own unique effects. You have access to staves, and crossbows, most notably books, poles, and handbags, and shields. So really, and you know, they come innately with re-equip. Which is my favorite aspect of the Squire, is they're such a wild card. They can be unpredictable if you want to play in that way. You can fill gaps where other roles don't quite excel in. So for instance, Yosh, I like to start the match with speed boosting items. And then I can look at my opponent and say, like, okay, they're kind of tanky, so I want to do something that's going to disrupt them. And so I'm going to re-equip my Moonblade with, say, Cinqueda, which inflicts stop. Cincada. Yep. Okay, I thought so. I'll keep the speed boosting stuff because it helps the dagger attack. And I know that I can inflict stop on them next time I attack them. So Squires also have a very high movement rate. Can you talk a little bit about like their stats?
Sure. So the squires themselves, they don't really have anything in particular that makes them strong or their strong suit. But the one thing they do have compared to any other generic job is that they have a base move of 5.
Wow.
Whereas like most units usually start at no more than 4. Squire has 5. So what that enables them to do is to be able to build to engage your opponent early if you want. Like Mikey was highlighting earlier, they have the ability to start off with whatever gear, because they have a variety, an array of gear that they can equip, can build towards speed like Mikey did with this particular build, and then check your opponent. Maybe I need to switch into something that will disrupt magics, or maybe I need to switch the stop knife with Cicadia and get a guaranteed stop as long as I hit.
That's right.
The move allows them to be able to engage your opponent quickly, and you don't have to build in the move as much because of that.
It really is nice. To me, movement is the second most important stat. So yeah, it's really nice to have. So I'm gonna move on to the archer.
Sure.
And which is great because I love what you've done with aim. And real quick, just say what's up to Sea Green Sugar Cube. Right, dude. Honestly, everything is good once Tuesday or Tactics Tuesday rolls around. So glad you could join us. So yeah, let's talk about aim real quick. It's no longer just charge plus however many turns you want to waste before your opponent moves.
Yeah. So that was one of the biggest issues with vanilla Archer, right? Is it had a bunch of, I think it went from like aim 2 to aim 20, if I'm not mistaken, where it's just increased charge time for more damage, which in the original game, like, it would take forever to even get that 20 off. Like, you might as well just put the controller down and just kind of let the game run on auto mode to get to that point. So what I did was taking the feedback of just the archer job just felt like its skill set wasn't really doing anything for it. I went and looked at the other tactics games, Tactics Advance 1 and 2 in particular, and I took some of the abilities that exist in those games, brought them into Tactics, into the PvP patch. So you may see some familiar names, especially if you played those newer games such as Sonic Boom or Basic Toxico. There are also some brand new ones here, like Take Aim or Charge Weapon, or even aim, Break Aim, and Aim Vital is actually a part of the other games as well. But it's to give them more unique skills to actually feel like a true archer or a sniper, even to be able to use their weapon to an advantage to debuff or apply a lot of damage.
Exactly. Yeah, that's been my experience with them, is they feel more like a ranger, where they're not just strictly a range damage dealer, where they just deal direct damage, but a disruptor. So like, yes, you can do damage. You definitely have that option with Take Aim. But like being able to inflict doom from a distance, being able, like a long distance potentially. So let's actually just try that. Let's do Aim Vitals on Bart, or guy. And we get 65% chance. Boom, got him. I mean, that animation is sick. You picked a cool spell. So yeah, then he still has invisibility because I am rocking ninja gear with him, or invisibility cloak. And that will give him basically concentration, so I can evade or mitigate evasion. Is that correct?
Correct.
Cool.
It's like the old school concentration, because there was also changes to the original concentration from vanilla, where like the vanilla version of concentration, it would completely just, it doesn't matter how much evasion they have, it's always 100%. The PvP patch makes the concentration ability now a 50% increase towards the hit rate. However, the invisibility cloak and the invisible status itself nullifies that, so it kind of brings it back to the old school version, if you will.
Yeah. Nice. And that's an important distinction. I think we should have a separate episode about like what fundamental changes have gone into the PvP mod, but I think the equipment episode would be the best place for that, because there are some subtle changes, some not so subtle changes, but I think overall just a net benefit and quality of life improvement across the board. So
Oh, yeah.
do archers have any innate abilities? Anything noteworthy?
They do have, so each job does have an innate. Speaking of which, as we go along, we'll go through each one. But the archer's innate ability is the ignore elevation. Innate, it's a movement ability. If you guys even remember that, and not a lot of people probably like, what was that? What does that do again? What it
Ignore
essentially
height.
does is, what it essentially does is it doesn't matter how much your jump is. You can essentially move like to any point based on its jump. So since this archer has moved forward, they can pretty much go horizontal forward, and then they can go as far up as they want, like all the way up to the top of the map if they want.
So it was kind of a dumb move to give myself fly on this archer, whereas in vanilla I'd be like, yeah, fly's great.
Yeah, I can see there's a little bit of conflict there, but fly does have an advantage in particular, so still not a bad choice. Fly actually does allow you to nullify fall damage innately, as long as you have it slotted. And in addition to that, fly does allow you to get around enemies, so if your archer is ganged up on, you can still get them out.
There we go. Okay, so I'm not a complete idiot. Perfect. Thank you, Yosh.
And
You're so nice to me. Okay. I feel like we got a pretty good grasp on the archer. Like, we know now that aim is no longer useless. They provide utility, and they still seem to have a reliance on speed to generate damage or effectiveness with their abilities.
Of course, absolutely.
So let's move on to White Mage, shall we?
Let's do it.
White Mage was already like top tier healer in vanilla. Where did you feel we needed to improve in the White Mage?
White Mage didn't really need a lot. Like you were saying, it was top tier in vanilla, and that fairly translated well into the PvP patch. One quality of life thing that did happen was that, and this is not just specific to white magics, all magics, the cast time or spells significantly reduced, even without swiftness. So that way you can actually feel like your spells will actually go off in a relatively fast amount of time now than it did like back in vanilla. White Mage
it made healing really lackluster, like that you had to wait for so long.
Absolutely.
And there's always such an urgency. It's like, if my White Mage needs to heal, I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. So besides increasing the spell speeds, if you will, of magics across the board, like I said, it's not just white magic, but like time magics and all the others as well. One cool change is, if you look at Cure, it actually has a now on it, which means it's insta-cast. So what we did was, level 1 spells, Cure, Fire, Thunder, Blizzard, they all are insta-cast and are all single targeted. So that way, if you need immediate heal, and of course it's not like a powerful heal, but if you build into it, it can be a pretty strong heal too, even for an instant cast. That way, if you need it, it's there, and you always can find your White Mage to be a reliable source of healing, especially in an emergency burst. One other cool thing we did with White Mage is that they do have the Arcane Defense supportability innately, so they are automatically take less damage from magics.
That makes sense.
Oh yeah, fair barrier.
Yeah, like I don't see any changes in the White Mage skill tree except barrier. So that pretty much, regen is instant and it's still AoE, so that's nice.
Yep.
Kind of underused spell in PvP, but I personally like it. Passive healing is a-okay in my book. But yeah, let's talk about barrier real quick.
Yeah, so one thing we had, one issue we ran into with white magics was ProtectJa, ShellJa, or Shell and ShellJa, which all are
that's what's missing.
Decent for they're decent for the story progression, but when it comes to like the end game progression, which is what the patch is about, they're very redundant skills, right? So taking a page out of Iato's Kiyomori, Barrier was born pretty much out of that. So we took all 4 of those abilities I've mentioned and just turned it into one ability. So it is a insta cast, large area protect and shell for friendlies only. So even if your enemies are on you, it's not going to give them Protecting Shell. It's pretty expensive, because it is such a large area, but it is instant, and it's a great starter ability to start off with if you're not running Protecting Shell, your gear.
For sure. And you know, that is the trade-off. Like, I can free up gear options, gear slots for more power, more speed, because I know that my white mage is just going to throw up barrier at the start of the battle, or even keep it refreshed throughout. And that costs 64 MP. So yeah, definitely like efficient, but costly.
Correct.
That's cool. And yeah, with the arcane defense in your innately, that just means you can throw on swiftness to make your spells even faster. Or if you want to go even tankier, you can throw on defense boost. So you're covering both your bases. Protect Shell. There's even more mitigation on top of that.
Exactly. Yep. Defense boost and arcane defense will stack with Protect the Shell. So again, a nice spicy 66% mitigation across the board. Pretty noticeable in PvP, especially when you're dealing with high damage opponents.
Absolutely. Gonna say what's up to Captain Zach. How's it going, buddy? Thank you for joining us. Feel free to throw out questions if you have them. So yeah, who's going next on my team? We have a Chemist. Okay.
Chemist.
The final starting class that we can just get out of the way.
Oh, for sure.
Chemist.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, it's your string. You lead first. I'll follow.
I was gonna say, Chemist, S tier healer in vanilla, and like literally indispensable in the late game. Like, they are the only starting class besides maybe Knight that you can go back to with all the dope gear that you found later in the game and be just fine with. So, I mean, you really didn't have a lot to do with Chemist, judging by their performance in vanilla. But did you?
I don't know. Dude. Question mark?
Yeah, like, let's talk about what we've done with items, for instance.
So Chemist, this is another job that kind of similar to White Mage. They, by themselves, they didn't really need a lot added to them because they were already performing fairly well. They transitioned fairly well in the PvP, right? The best way to put it. However, we did add some additional special items to the items toolkit. So before I go into that, I'll cover some of the changes we made to items, starting with High Potion. So what we do with High Potion is now 250 heal, which is usable in the generic pre-made format only. So that's why it's great out here. Potions are now 150 HP heal, which aren't actually accessible at all in the PvP format because they're specifically used auto potion. And then X potions was changed to become a 300 HP heal. So significantly more healing through the medicinal uses if you need them. Ether has been up to 50, and then high ether to 100. Elixir still does the normal elixir business, full HP and MP top up. However, we have some new stuff too, starting with Ethereal Tonic. So what Ethereal Tonic does is when you throw it on a target, it can be the enemy, it gives them the invisible status, temporary, so the moment they take an action, it's gone. What you can do with this, what's pretty cool, is you can actually use it to cause their next attack to have 100% hit rate, especially if it's like a weapon attack. So that you can actually do some cool follow-up business with that. Then we also added a few more items.
Before you go, real quick on Invisible, does invisibility increase magic damage against you like in other Final Fantasy games?
No, it doesn't increase magic damage against you, but what it does do in Tactics is you are invisible, then if the opponent had a shield or accessory that had increased magic evasion, that part gets nullified out of the equation. So you're more or less guaranteed to cast that spell on the target that one time while you're invisible.
Nice. Wait, okay. So against an invisible target, it basically nullifies their magic evasion?
No, so let's say that
the other way around.
The other way around. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you throw that tonic on your white mage, and they targeted somebody with a Scutcheon 2, normally the Scutcheon 2 would significantly reduce the hit rate of their incoming thunder, right? But since you're invisible, that hit rate reduction doesn't count.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So there is some benefit to it with spellcast.
Okay. Cool. Further down the list, we have Adrenaline, Hermes Tonic, Carbuncle's Tear. Let's go through these rapid fire. So like,
sure.
It looks like these are filling in the gaps where Remedy did not.
Correct. More or less, what we did was stuff like so Remedy actually covers a lot of the like earlier item uses, like eye drops, antidote. So what we did is we took those things and kind of just made sure that Remedy covered what those old items used to do, and we took those slots and then made those new items instead, which is why you see like Hermes Tonic and stuff like that.
Let's see. Hermes Tonic, Float and Regen.
Yep.
Excellent. Carbuncle's Tear, Reflect. So we've taken Chemist and instead of made them completely reactionary, they now have the ability to buff. So now they can be proactive, like support.
Exactly. I've actually seen some pretty funny plays with Carbuncle's Tear. An opponent's charging a spell, right, and then you just throw a Carbuncle's Tear at them, like at your friendly, and cause that to, reflect the spell right off. It's actually a really cool defensive measure when you really need it, since it is instant.
If ever you needed an excuse to use Reflect, there we go.
There you go.
Finally.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
a lot of cool changes.
Captain Zach is asking me if I have plans for the channel if there is a remaster or remake announced soon. Yeah, I'll lose my mind first. I mean, it will probably be a live stream where I'm going to play, like when it releases, I'll play through the story as long as I possibly can, like try and stay up and pass out in front of everyone, because I'll just be that excited to get through it, right? And like really see all the changes. Live stream my playthrough of that, then do like a retrospective and talk about the differences between the two of them and give like my final opinion. If it doesn't have multiplayer, I'll cry. So you get to see a grown man cry. And yeah, I'll put Yosh on camera and he'll cry with me. It'll be real gross. If there's no multiplayer, that would really suck. Obviously, I'll like keep wanting to come back to play with friends, and like we will have this PvP mod as the like centerpiece. This is a like dream come to life. So like definitely not going to dismiss that. If they do have tactics multiplayer, if they have a multiplayer option in this remake, wow. Honestly, I haven't even thought about it. Like, I have just assumed it's not coming. So, like, I'm all in on the PvP mod, and I still am, and I will be. But if there is tactics multiplayer in that, then it's probably going to be like a back and forth between the new and the OG PvP, the new and the OG PvP. So, we'll see. But yeah, I would definitely, if you want multiplayer tactics, I would definitely stay tuned to this channel for sure. Either way. Cool. Anything else you wanted to add to the Chemist? I don't think they got any more equipment options.
I don't believe so. They still have guns and knives. They had a slightly increased base speed, so that way they could be a better fitting healer. But other than that, they still have throw items. I think items had some new additions to it, and the potions and stuff had a stronger efficacy.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much all I ever wanted. And I felt guilty for asking, because the Chemist is already so good.
Well. Yeah, exactly. Like they didn't really need a lot, and I mean that's some of the things you all will see. Getting especially towards the later jobs, is some of the jobs didn't really need a lot added to them to do well. Like they were already performing decently just from transition.
Right.
Adding a little extra stuff definitely helped them out, but it's not like they crazily they needed extra, right? Like they didn't really need so much.
And there is a difference between being amazing in PvE and being competitive in PvP. So, like, it may seem like we're not doing much, but by our own surprise, we're like, wow, they're actually fine in competitive PvP. Or like, oh, this would just make them, like, a little more asymmetrical. A little more, like, oh, they got this cool thing that makes me want to take them, instead of being, like, a predictable, bland kind of, like, you know, you wind them up and go. Rant over. Yeah, exactly. My cats love those. So let's continue with the basics and move on to one of my favorite classes and improvements, the Knight.
Yeah, Knight got quite a bit. They have an 8 HP boost, so they automatically get 20% more health.
Love that.
So they're always like, it's very hard to see a Knight below 500 HP. I'll just say that, like, and that's with them running robes too. Like, it takes a lot for them to be at low health. Thanks to that innate HP boost. So that was a godsend.
It really was.
There's been some changes to the Arts of War kit. If you guys haven't already noticed, some abilities are actually not there that normally are in vanilla. Stuff like Rend Weapon, Rend Armor, Rend Helm, I believe Rend Shield, I think it's the other one that's not there. So what had happened was, we had some situations where, you know, you all might have done this too in vanilla, where you would have like a chemist even with a gun, right, with using Rend Weapon, and just pretty much just kind of pistol whipping gear right across the map, which didn't really create necessarily a healthy style of gameplay. So what I did was looked at some of the pain points that the Knight job itself needed. It needed a little bit more offensive and utility skills. And so there has been some reworkings there. So there's changes like Bulwark, Saint Cross, Warcry, and also Mowdown. So Bulwark gives your team an immediate defending status, which defending doubles all your evasion for the turn, which is really nice for
real quick, Yosh. I just wanted to say hi to a newcomer, John Price. We are playing Final Fantasy Tactics, and I am chatting with the moderator from a Discord channel called Tactics League, and he has been hard at work over the past, well, probably years, creating this PvP mod so that all of the units are balanced with one another. So yeah, if you enjoy Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions, this is the modern multiplayer version that us on the Discord like to play with one another. And today we are discussing all the generic job changes that elevated them to make them more competitive in PvP. So I'm glad this video was recommended to you, and I hope you enjoy the content. It can be a little intimidating to just jump right into a completely new, like, modified version of the game. So we're trying to give folks a little bit of a preview, and kind of get the, like, gears turning in their heads, like, oh, the Knights are like this now. Well, I wonder if I can build them like this. So I hope you enjoy, and thanks for stopping by. Thank you, Yosh.
Yeah, welcome to the channel as well.
Let's see.
They've had a lot of different changes. So yeah, Bulwark is it's an AoE defending status cast on allies once again. So like the Delita in the example, he's not going to get it. Any ally near you will get it. What defending does, for those who don't remember, is it doubles your evasion rates until their next action, making it easier for them to dodge incoming attacks. That doesn't work against like undodgeable attacks, of course, but like basic attacks, certain other attacks can be evaded, and that's what Bulwark is.
Excellent. I really want to cast this Warcry on Delita because it looks like it's going to remove his protect. Tell me about this.
Is that sourced by chance? Like ability sourced, or was that gear sourced?
Removes protect and shell, and for Delita it is.
Yes, it will work.
It will work. Okay.
Initial, yeah, it was initial ancient sword. So, what Warcry does is, when you target someone who has protect and shell ability sourced, and this is really important because if it's protect and shell that is gear source, like Lordly Robe or anything like that, this won't work. But if they have a cast on them, or if it's initially cast on them, which was caused by the ancient sword, by the way, then you can actually go up to them and strip their protected shell right off the bat. And protected shell are very critical buffs in the game, and actually try to balance some of the damage that we see based around protected shells. So being able to strip a target of that off early can be very crucial, especially in early game.
Absolutely, it is. The damage mitigation that protected shell provides, especially on a tanky unit, makes it worth just stripping it off and then like everyone focus him down.
Yep. Sure.
Let's try Beso Toxico, which applies oil to a target. So that
Oil and poison.
Oil and poison. So what benefits does oil give me?
So oil's been changed. Oil in the original game, let me be a little extra specific about this. Oil in the PSX version actually didn't work. Oil in the
Really?
War of the Lions, yeah, it was there, but it didn't actually function as a double damage against fire. And War of the Lions, Square fixed that, and so it does double fire damage while you have oil. One thing we changed in the PvP patch with oil is it's not just fire anymore, but it's all elements other than holy and dark. So it's really more of an elemental debuff now than just being a fire debuff. They still take double damage from any elemental source that is not holy or dark. So
White Mage is out.
White Mage's holy won't work on this in this particular instance. But it's a really cool way to capitalize on getting early debuffs out and then doing a lot of damage.
Excellent. Let's see. Well, I'm about ready to move on to the next group of units. Cool. Looks like John Price is into the modding scene, so that may have been why this was recommended. But all good. The spirit of making a game your way is alive here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we know all these random MP, speed, power, magic, we just did Warcry, mow down. So run into the target with full force, dealing massive damage, but harming yourself. Interesting.
Yep. One cool thing about mow down is that it doesn't check the target's protect shell, or in this case, protect and defense boost. So it does true or ignored mitigation damage. So anytime you know that your opponent's running a lot of base mitigation, you can go for the mow down. It does damage you a decent bit, but you're also guaranteed to bypass their defenses.
And I did. I just wiped out Elheim's mana shield and took a tiny bit off the top, but definitely did what it advertised on the can. That's for sure. No stop on you. So let's see what else. Taunt is an interesting ability in Fundaments. Tell me about that. Taking 52 Brave off of somebody right next to you.
Yeah, so Taunt is a Tactics League exclusive with the Fundaments kit. What it does is it's a 30 MP cost instant ability where it has the chance to reduce the target's bravery by 52. Now you're probably wondering why 52, why specifically that number. The reason why it's 52 is because in the Tactics League formats, the all generic characters have 60 bravery and 60 faith. So the 52 is actually meant to push their bravery to 8, which in turn would force them to be chicken them for the turn. You gain 1 bravery at the start of your turn, so you only would stay in chicken state for 1 turn. But there's also repercussions because with the low bravery, now your reaction will probably not proc. So there are some cool things you can do with that, but it's also really good to just kind of do an instant disruption on your opponent.
Yeah, it's very difficult to come back from a 52 bravery deficit, but the bravery really only affects the reaction ability and martial arts, katana, knight sword, so it's not super devastating, but it is very difficult to block against. But again, you gotta be right up in the guy's face, so.
Yeah, and there's a pretty large window of error too, so like it may not even land, but if it does land, it could definitely change the flow of battlefield.
Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and load up the next 5. And those will also be more or less starting classes, but we're working our way through. We could probably pick up the pace a little bit, but that's on me. I will be sure to just breeze through the next 5. Now that we have like the format established, I think we can go a little bit fast.
Yeah, no problem. I'm actually looking at the chat right now. Let's see that Captain Zach actually had a question for me.
He has a question for you.
Can the PvP mod tool be used to add new classes? If so, what classes would you want to add? So there are some stipulations to that, and that was actually something that I wanted to do back when I was first working on this. There are some limitations to the way adding classes or jobs function with War of the Alliance. You can't really add jobs unless there's like a lot of how to put it without going too depth. There's a lot of modification that requires them. One easy way to go about it is you take existing jobs and you would change them out. So later in the video, you'll see that the arithmetician that is known for in vanilla is actually called Sage. In this version, it's fundamentally the same unit, but it has a different skill set and it functions different than it did in vanilla. But yeah, you'd have to like. There's a lot of different other quirks with like adding to the job wheels a lot to modify and things of that sort. It's possible, but it's a lot. It's a lot to make that.
To piggyback on your answer,
yeah. So
it's like you can almost make a new class just by modifying the abilities the way that YoshnJa has done for the PvP mod. Like the Sage, for instance, what used to be the Arithmetician, is like a hyper black mage in a way. So like if you swapped abilities from different skill trees, I guess, like ability sets, you know, like you took some black mage abilities, some mystic art abilities, and a couple, like a summon or two, and then call them, you know, like a battle mage or something. That I think that's along the path of where you're going, but I
more or less.
I get the sense like you want like a full pixel redo or like a sprite redo and like new abilities and stuff. It's like that's what I would want from a new class instead of like a mishmash.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, like I said, it's definitely doable. A lot of the PSP modding scene is still early on, so some of that stuff and like ways to go about it is still kind of hard to track. Whereas the
still
PSX
the frontier
version, yeah, where the PSX version has a lot of that stuff discovered, and though it's still complex in nature, it's much easier to do it on the PS1 version than it is on the PSP version.
For sure. Good question though.
Yeah,
let's jump into the Summoner. Summoner recently just got a little bit of tuning done, but let's I mean, you've added some abilities. Yeah, we have
Midgard primarily.
We got Midgard Stormer.
Yep.
Well, that's new. But some of them have changed. For the most part, they're pretty much the same. So we have Moogle and Fairy that are different. If you could describe those.
Sure. So in vanilla, Moogle was basically just a low-powered friendly heal, which didn't really do a lot, but that's what it used to do back in vanilla. So what I did was, in this version, it has a HP percentage heal, which, you know, can scale up higher or lower depending on targets, of course. But more importantly, the way it functions is it actually has the ability to remove specific debuffs. I think it is now on Charm, Stop, Stone, and Doom. But it will only work and it will only heal if those targets were affected by those debuffs. So you got to be a little more cautious about how to use it, but it will also help get rid of those statuses. So it's kind of like combining Cure with Asuna, but the Asuna is a lot more specific in nature, if you will.
Got it.
Also, yeah, Midgarsimer is a new summon, which is it's a wind elemental summon that has a chance of inflicting poison to those enemies that are hit. And Fairy has been reworked from its original form, where it used to just be it used to be a stronger version of Moogle in vanilla. Now it is a lower powered chance to revive multiple KO'd allies in the area. Now,
Wow.
Now that sounds really strong on paper, yes. However, it's also low powered, so it's going to be kind of a toss up. Like, you may get 2 or 3 units back to life when we go. You may not get anybody at all. Like, it's kind of a gamble. It's a risk reward mechanic.
It does sound great, though. Speaking of sounding great, how about moving over to one of the strongest brawlers back in vanilla, the Monk?
Yeah, Monk is awesome.
Again, like, hard to fix what ain't broken. So, did you really have to do much with the Monk?
Not much has been changed at all with Monk. There was mostly been some improvements to the skill set, like to the skills within the skill set. They still have innate brawler, that didn't change. Martial arts is still functionally the same thing from vanilla, but there have been some key changes. One notable change is that from vanilla into the PvP patch, the verticality of all skills are at least 1 instead of 0.
Nice.
So that way,
God,
if you're
brutal.
playing on certain maps that have weird, like 0.5s, or like, you know, just being like a target or friendly, it's just kind of like in a weird spot. There is a little more room for error for those abilities to land now. Pummel and Cyclone got a power increase to make them a little bit more fitting in their damage, especially since Pummel is RNG related anyways, but it now has a chance of rolling a higher power. So it can potentially do more damage, or it can still hit, you know, like a wet noodle. It still has that random factor to it. And the Cyclone actually does a little bit more damage up front now than it did before. But other than that, they're functionally all the same.
Oh, wow. That was a big Cyclone. Okay.
Yeah,
I can dig it.
I think you have a tag boost on that Monk, speaking of which.
I believe I do.
Yeah, so like attack boost.
Oh, I have Death Strike.
Okay, so attack boost and Brawler would have been some serious damage. Death Strike, it is a new ability, a new support ability, and that increases critical chance of attacks from 10% to 50%.
10% is the standard, like, Final Fantasy Tactics crit rate.
Correct, yes. And vanilla, the standard crit rate, I believe, was 4%. So we increased the global crit chance up from 4 to 10% by default.
Nice.
There's a little bit more critical hits that will happen, and Death Strike takes that much further and allows your critical hits to be at 50% chance. A literal coin flip, to hit harder or not.
Excellent. Otherwise, it looks like monks are pretty much the same.
They
still have innate. Yeah, they still have innate brawler. Bravery 60 is still a good amount of bravery to power your normal attacks. So yeah, I feel comfortable. If I were new to this, I would feel comfortable just jumping in with a monk and being like, whatever works in vanilla works for this guy, right? Yep.
Exactly. More or less, monks are a great transition from vanilla to patch. I mean, even the same with Dragoon too. So, like they transition very well.
So it looks like Dragoon can't jump the full 8.
Correct. Right. There was
6.
It was originally the maximum horizontal and vertical range in vanilla, once you've learned all the abilities and jump, was 8 by 8. Actually reduced the horizontal to 6, so now it's 6 by 8. That's just so that Dragoons have to kind of move a little further to your opponent instead of just sitting from spawn, like jumping from spawn to spawn.
Exactly.
It's important that players are making their way to their opponent, even if it takes 1 or 2 steps to get in that range. You're still having to take that step forward, right?
Exactly. I mean, you kind of want your Dragoon in the fray. Like, they're good tanks, they're good fighters. Why not have the enemy's only choice for something to target be your Dragoon? And then it's not going to be effective. So yeah, I agree there. Any notable innate abilities?
Yes, so Dragoon in the PvP patch has innate safeguard, so that means that they cannot be robbed by steal, and they cannot be broken by stuff that casts the old rend ability. So I don't know if you guys if you had caught earlier when I was talking about Knight, that like Knight no longer has rend weapon and rend helm. Those abilities have actually been moved to specific weapons. Axes now, each axe has a chance to rend something, so that you actually have to play in melee to do so. And then there are some select weapons like the Yoichi bow that actually has a chance to apply rend weapon. So there is actually still the ranged capability of breaking, but it's at a lesser range than guns, and it's a little bit more variable about the arc and stuff like that.
Sure.
But Dragoons have protection against all that stuff. So if you're running Dragoon, you have to worry about getting your gear jacked from you or anything broken.
Safeguard lives up to the name.
Yeah,
well, cool.
Sure.
Let's move on then to Time Mage, shall we? Another pretty strong class in vanilla. But some changes have been made.
Yes. So fundamentally, they have the same skill set as they did in vanilla. Nothing has changed in that regard. Outside the spell speed stuff I was mentioning earlier, where general cast times have gone down significantly so that you actually feel your cast more impactful. Haste and slow are actually insta-cast. There are also single target. That is one amazing change. And that wasn't even my change at that, suggested. It was actually suggested by other people. But it is a great change. Being able to target an ally to give them haste is such an impactful change, even if it's just one unit, which it is with haste itself. Giving them that ability to get their turns faster is such a great asset, especially in PvP. And even more so slow, mid late game slows. Oh man, awful.
It's brutal.
It can really change their ability to act and be able to counter, just being able to slow them down. So time magics itself has been more or less the same. Astasia and SLOJA, they actually function a little differently than they did in vanilla. Astasia is now a larger area than it was, and it also only affects allies. So even if the enemies are in there, they don't get the haste buff. And then SLOJA only affects enemies, so even if your allies are in the AoE, they won't get slowed down.
Super powerful. Yeah, and that you're kind of hitting both of the needs, right? I need someone to be hasted now. I need someone to be slowed down now, or I need everyone to be hasted, or everyone to be slow. Now we're skipping over the most important part of the Time Mage here, and that is that innate swiftness.
That innate swiftness, yeah, you gotta love it. Time Mage
is such a game changer. Once you have swiftness and you're a caster, there is no going back.
Yeah, it's hard to really think about it. If you're really taking casting magic serious in PvP, it is definitely an asset to have swiftness. And time mages are doing exceptionally well right now, I think, because of that. Because then, at that point, having an innate means that you can go defense boost or whatever you need, whatever you want, and still be able to cast those spells promptly.
I love that. Before we move on to Black Mage, I want to say hi to James Kishon. See you peeking in here. See you. And Winter is coming. Would like for me to summon Odin, but I decided to go with Midgardsormr.
Actually, I'm glad they did bring up Odin. Odin actually got changed. I completely forgot about that too. So bravo to who said that? Is that Winter?
Yeah.
Winter did. So thank you, Winter. You actually reminded me. So Odin. So real quick, Odin actually got a change where it is more true to its Final Fantasy lore, right? It now has a chance to KO enemies hit. It's a 19% chance. And also we went and renamed the spell quote when you cast it. I forgot what was original. I think it was something like Oblivion or something like that. Now it's Zentetsuken, which is what it should have been.
Oh! Was that the PSX? I think the PSX version was that. Zentetsuken.
Was it? I honestly don't remember. I honestly don't remember. But I know in PSP it was something different. It was Obliterate, I think it's what it called. When you cast it. So Yeah, we renamed it to Zentetsuken, and it now has a chance to KO enemies' head.
Excellent. So then what about Lich? Does it also do the same thing, but in dark damage?
Lich doesn't KO, but it does HP percentage damage. So when you're using it against bulky enemies, they take a ton of damage because it's basically casting Graviga.
Gravity, that's right.
Yeah, no, not Gravity, Graviga. So
Graviga.
Yeah, 50%
right.
HP loss is no joke, especially when you have a lot of bulk.
Oh, I got bulk.
I got that bulk.
But only where it matters. So let's move my time mage up so we can see some SQUIRE. SQUIRE once. SQUIRE twice. Cool. I love editing in YoshnJa and SQUIRE animations to my video because I really want to make my viewers sick. So
There's
any,
a lot of spinning.
there is any noteworthy Black Mage improvements or balance changes we should be aware of?
So Black Mage. Black Mage. Okay, so Black Mage had a few changes. Once again, it's one of those jobs that, statistically speaking, didn't really need a lot. They were the strongest caster out of the caster jobs with a really high base magic attack, so couldn't really just get more damage. That would not be good in terms of balance. But one thing they do have innately, wow, look at that double block.
Yeah, that was dope.
One thing they do have innately is Mana Font, and those who remember Mana Font is you recover MP after moving. Because we have some buffs to Mana Font and Life Font from Vanilla, you get even more MP. It's actually it's 1/6 of your max MP, whereas I believe in Vanilla it was 1/8. So you get more MP recovery on move, which in turn makes running Mana Shield even more vital. But even if you're looking at the class kit, they're more or less the same kit. I mean, even just Mikey scrolling through real quick, the only major difference that you'll see is that level 1 spells, Fire, Blizzard, and Thunder, are now, there's a Zentetsuken. They're now instant cast and single target. Alright, wait for this go through real quick. We're getting KO.
Yeah, she was close to death.
Just close to death. Okay. Toad is still functionally the same. The one other thing that was changed in the Black Mage kit is that the death skill no longer does max HP damage where it originally did in Vanilla. Now when it just straight up inflicts the KO stat, or has a chance to inflict the KO status. That was changed so that it would allow me to modify a formula that gets changed later down the road. I won't go to specificity behind that, but it was changed around so it no longer deals the max HP damage, it will just inflict KO, which in turn means that you can no longer use death to heal undead units. That probably being like the biggest change out of that from Vanilla.
I'm certainly gonna miss that.
But ultimately, it's Black Magic's is more or less the same as just insta-cast single target, level 1 being the biggest difference.
Nice. I think that does it for these 5 guys. That took like half the time of the last one, so I'm glad we're moving at a faster clip. Let's get Lich cast and then we can move on.
Sure.
Let's do a pummel on this guy real quick. Should be able to get something maybe big. Oh, right on the money.
You got the average. Yeah, there you go.
That's my style. Oh boy. Any notable like we can save equipment for another day. Never mind. Let's see what depth is. KO at 22%. That's so cool. Because before it was, I mean, that's pretty much what it was, right? It was just like a straight KO percentage. Okay, cool.
Exactly. It was functionally the same thing. The only difference of it now doing KO status versus HP is now that it no longer can heal undead. Right? Because a form of cura to undead.
Like a negative HP to undead is the inverse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so that part is no longer doable because of that status change.
Let's reload onto a new save file. God, I love the fast forward button.
Oh, such a godsend.
It is. Thank you, Jorah. All right.
I like that you have your Ramses renamed. Speaking of which, that is actually a cool thing with the PvP patch, is you can rename Ramza, Construct,
And
and then
generics.
all the generics as well. So yeah, you can actually give your squad a unique name and spin, if you will. Bar some explicitives. But you can definitely rename your characters now, and kind of just adds an extra touch to whatever dream team you're trying to come up with.
Speaking of Dream Team, look who popped in. J7Js. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Jace?
Glad you like the changes and the tournament. There are talks. Things are moving. There are pieces being moved around.
Yep.
Yeah, it's better than other things in the wind, but yeah, certainly whispers.
We're slowly starting to make the move.
That's right. I just want to say thanks for stopping by. Let's jump back in. Oh no, searching for an opponent. Melee, yes. I will join myself. Most reliable partner ever.
Isn't it just?
Let's see. Almost done. Yep, rules look great. Select the map. The starter map. Alright, so for this one, we will be rocking a thief, a samurai, an orator, a mystic, and a geomancer.
Okay.
Some of my
good to me.
favorites.
Yeah. Same here.
Let's see, where are my other dummies? There we go. Come on in, guys. Alright, cool. Hey, Mr. Variant!
Hey, what's up, Mr. Variant?
Mr. Variant has a lot on his mind, and I appreciate that. Yeah, sorry I didn't get to respond to your comment on the post, but we're here now to do just that. I know you were mentioning the Battle Mage classes. Geomancer is like as close as I think we're gonna get to a Battle Mage, who can actually.
Mystic is definitely up there now.
There we go. Yeah.
Yep.
We could have two Battle Mages on our hands here.
And more fitting, they're both in the same squad. So.
Oh yes, sir. Man, Mystic and Geomancer have like been with me since the very beginning. When I first started playing Tactics PvP, I like insisted on these two.
I remember. I actually remember the double hand Mystic too.
Oh,
Like,
she's
back
so
when you first
good. She may be coming back.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
So let's start ourselves off here with a thief, as is tradition. The quick little thief. Now, steel has changed. No,
Yes.
it has not. Not really.
Not really, exactly. And that's kind of that's part of the core philosophy. Was I didn't want to go and just change everything out. I mean, I still want to try to retain the vanilla feel of jobs and the skill sets outside of aim. Aim needed something.
And
aim
I
needed
needed
something.
so much
Okay.
help. Oh.
Yeah, aim needed something. So, excluding Archer, most of the jobs relatively feel the same. And that's important for transitioning from vanilla to the patch. I don't want players to be like, "Oh, Thief is entirely different. Like, what is all this?" But there are some new fun tools. So, starting with Barutan, one of my personal favorites. This was actually one of the first abilities that got changed in the patch entirely as a new addition.
It was the dawn of a new day when this got released.
Yeah, it definitely was. So if you guys hadn't noticed, it's a instant self-casting haste, and it's such a great start because you know you're going to land it. It's guaranteed, and just being able to haste yourself early game allows you to get more turns faster. So it's always an amazing boon to have that haste buff. And just without going into it too much, haste is fundamentally not accessible through gear anymore. It is
That's a very good
ability specific. It's only applicable through abilities now. So, time magic haste, Astasia, borrowed time, things like that. It's the only way you can get haste now, because haste is such a powerful, impactful thing in PvP.
Yep. Speed first.
Sure.
So you will notice that I don't have equipped crossbows on, yet I still have a crossbow. Is there another innate ability that is different in the PvP mod?
Maybe? I'm not sure. I was like,
I won't say.
So thieves actually gained the ability to equip crossbows innately along with knives. So they now have a ranged option as well. One other thing, as Mikey has on the screen, is they have concentration. So earlier, if you all didn't catch this earlier, when I mentioned it with Archer, they actually have the change in concentration is it's no longer a just completely like 100%. Anytime I have it, I'm going to hit you. It's now adds 50% towards your hit rate. So because of that, thieves aren't going to always, land whatever they're trying to do. But it does help their ability to hit, especially with like the poison bow attacks or knives, since knives are guaranteed status infliction. They don't do a lot of damage, but they are guaranteed to inflict whatever knife you're running. So
yeah, you definitely want to hit.
Yeah, you definitely want to go for the hit. So that's where thieves will shine at when you're in versatility. But not just that. There have also been a lot of reworkings on the Thief too. So statistically, Thief was always inferior to Ninja.
That was the thing.
Yeah, so Thieves actually have the same starting speed as Ninja now. So they're both, I believe, starting 13 speed. So it's going to come down to, do you want more speed? Do you want more damage? Or not more speed, but do you want more damage in Ninja? Or do you want more bulk in Thief? Because Thief actually has more base HP than Ninja does.
Nice.
So yeah, these are a little bit more sturdier and hardier than a Ninja. They have less damaging capabilities, but they're not meant to necessarily be offensive damage dealers. They're meant to be a pest unit. They're meant to strip your opponent down, taking away vital gear off of them, removing their protect and shell gear that they have on, causing them to take more damage, getting rid of stat boosters, things of that like. So that's where thieves will really shine at.
Agreed, and that's exactly what they do. Like, why change what ain't broken?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go ahead and move on to Orator.
Sure.
We have a female Orator in our midst. And Speechcraft looks kind of the same.
It is more or less the same. There have been some power changes throughout the history of the patch, where stuff like Mimic Darlawan had originally started with 50 power. Now I think it's base 60, or maybe it was 40 power. They had a power increase. I can't remember off the top.
Well, I can see right off the bat that it's no longer AoE. And if you're on the receiving end of this, that is excellent.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we removed the AoE. I actually just changed that one out recently. Remove the AoE so that way you couldn't just immediately run to your opponent and be like, okay, now all I need is a high speed unit like a Ninja or Thief, run up to you, go for Mimic, roll the dice, and possibly sleep 4 of your unit. Never, or even 5 of your unit. Never really fun for me.
Is that not fun for you?
Oh, I have a blast with it. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
So that's been changed. So it's all single target skills now. They still function more or less the same. Entice isn't Traitor as it was in Vanilla, but rather Charm, since Traitor is been removed from the PvP patch entirely as a status infliction. So you can charm your opponent with that. It is a generalist charm, speaking of which. So even if that female orator targeted this female time mage, it will still have a chance to charm regardless of gender. One cool thing that was buffed specifically in Speechcraft is that Praise and Preach, and I think it was just Praise and Preach in particular, they actually give more bravery and they give more faith than they used to in Vanilla. So
yeah, like 4 brave, 4 faith never really seemed to. It never felt effective, and you have to lay it on over the course of a battle to permanently affect your stat, which is what you're using them for in the first place.
Right.
So, like, yeah, 10 seems like a way more reasonable amount, especially in this environment where nothing is permanent between games. So if you're only going to be playing one match, make it worth my while. You know, give me 10 brave with each one. Like, that actually makes a difference. That's 10% increased power for monks. That is, like, you know...
Increased reaction chance.
Yeah, like, another increased reaction... Yes, perfect example, actually. That's way better. So,
Get if you bought a chicken, things like that. So.
Bingo.
Yep, it definitely has its uses.
Can we move on now? So, like, order more or less the same. No huge swings, just things got buffed a little bit to make them a little more competitive for PvP.
Yes,
just to put a cap on that.
There's one more thing I do want to mention. Is their innate. They no longer, they still have Beast Tongue, because why should they not still have it? Which doesn't really do anything for PvP specifically, but they do have a new ability called Persuasive. What Persuasive does is, when you only through weapon attacks, like basic attacks, if an attack would put a unit into critical status, it is guaranteed to charm. Now, this is something that they have innately, so if you're using a gun or a knife, even for whatever reason you may want to use a knife, if you would put them in critical HP status, that unit that you attacked will automatically join, or will be charmed and join you, even while remaining in critical. So it's a really, they can be really dangerous if played right. I've seen Dr. J do some pretty funny stuff with Persuasive.
I bet, yeah. Mr. Variant has got the, like, idea. It's basically a temporary tame.
It is, yeah. It's tame that works for humans, more or less.
Nice.
Yep.
That's so funny to think about.
I don't want to hold you up. I just wanted to highlight that, because that's
important.
Change.
Yeah, that's great. Beast Tongue we'll find a use for in PvP.
It works on Construct.
Oh, really?
Yes, it does. Yep.
That is so funny.
However, it's really only going to be like the plus and minus bravery, faith abilities, but it does work on.
Yeah. Excellent. Let's talk about Samurai.
Sure.
I'm gonna do a double hand. Yeah, look at this. Oof. Protect and shell. Oh, just shell.
Well, you're attacking. Okay, yeah. You're also attacking a sleeping unit, so they're gonna take more damage. But in general, Ryan's they get a change where they have an 8 double hand, so you don't have to worry about slotting that passive anymore. Double hand's actually been reworked too. It still functions the same as it does in vanilla. It allows you to take a one-handed weapon and wield it with 2 hands, increasing the damage. However, damage has been scaled back. It's now no longer a double damage, a 2x modifier, but rather a 60% damage increase to kind of scale back damage potential. But one cool change that's happened recently is that double hand actually works with force two-handed weapons. So specifically stuff like bow or axes, which are already force two-handed in vanilla, double hand will actually increase the damage of those attacks by 40%, which is actually more than attack boost. So if you plan on attacking with those weapons, you actually get the best odds slotting double hand now than you would slotting attack boost, for example.
Excellent.
Yep.
Dang.
Samurai also had some slight MA improvements to make their Iato more usable, especially on the male samurai, but even more so female samurai can use Iato better. Iato still functions the same as it does in vanilla. There have been power balancing, so it's not like Shurage Raiden was at 30 power anymore. A lot less. I think it's 15, or excuse me, it's 18 now. But they do have increased magic attack. It was just one of the things that Samurai was lacking.
Oh, God.
They didn't utilize their skill set well because they didn't have magic attack, right? Like they were.
You only learn the Iato to give it to your mages.
Exactly. So they're definitely good candidates for their own skill set now, even more so the female samurai. But the male samurai is where it's at when it comes to raw attacks. They have that high base 17 PA. So they are right out the back really hard hitters.
Yeah, I didn't put any PA boosting gear on.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Mr. Variant was wondering if double hand increases parry percentage. I'm guessing it's just whatever your weapon is.
Okay. No. So double hand does not affect the block rate on a weapon at all. But one thing to note with parry in general is that parry is now innately set and active on all units, so you don't you no longer need to slot parry as a reaction.
There's global
Everybody
parry.
it's global parry, exactly. So weapon evasion is definitely like a cool factor now, especially with other changes to evasions that's happened. And so it's really cool to actually see people blocking with their weapons for a change.
You have to be a little careful attacking a black mage from the front, because those rods can parry.
For sure. Yeah, really.
All right, well, let's move on then to Geomancer. I know Winter's coming, wants to know what's new with Geomancer, so let's not disappoint him.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Geomancers are, in general, they've been doing great. Even when just transitioning from vanilla to PvP patch, they didn't really need a lot. One thing they did need was a power buff, and as Mikey has on the screen, he's displaying their innates. So I'll go over the innates first. They pretty much have half elements other than Holy and Dark, so they're really good against any offensive elemental damage that comes in, which makes them really great. Because I mean, honestly, there are all sorts of different elemental attacks in the game now, so it's great just being able to have that natural resistance. And outside of that, the Geomancy skills have had a global power increase. So in vanilla, they didn't really ever hit hard at all unless you're like skyrocketing the magic attack. Now it doesn't take a lot for them to actually hit fairly decent, and they still have their status infliction and stuff. Like that stuff still is the same as it was in vanilla.
Yeah, like I used to joke about them being the most average class, and that was a good thing. Like they didn't have any blatant weaknesses, but not overpowering strengths either. So they're just a jack of all trades kind of unit, and I'm glad you didn't take that away from them. I primarily use them as like a magic heavy geomancy leaning, ranged attacker with a little bit of disruption, hopefully. Although I've been lately leaning on that chance that I'll get that debuff.
Your luck has been pretty well, so you should definitely.
Fair enough. But they still retain the ability to equip heavy, burly weapons and can come in swinging with very high physical attack power as well.
Yeah. Oh, actually, speaking of which, they actually gained poles as an additional weapon in the PvP patch as well. So they have swords, sword and shield, one-handed sword and shield, axes, and poles, if I'm not mistaken.
Excellent. Speaking of poles, can we move on to Mystics, who recently have gotten some changes in the latest PvP update?
Yes, Mystics got a lot of different changes. One of the baseline reasons they received a decent bit of changes here recently was under the fact that Speechcraft was performing so well, which made it so that Mystic Arts was pretty much inferior in many different ways. So I went back to the drawing board and was looking at where Mystic Arts needed some buffs, primarily in reliability of casting and also reduced cast times. I mean, look at those cast times. Oof. Crazy. Like, you can pretty much cast any spell that you want at your leisure at this.
Thank you,
that
Yosh.
really, not a problem. I mean, it's important though, because Mystic Arts needs to fill its own way. It has a lot of different cool debuff utility skills in it, but it was always tend to be performing not as well, especially with Speechcraft being instacast and stuff of that sort. So Mystic Arts got a lot of different buffs, and the Mystic got a lot of different buffs. Mystics are now dubbed the Battle Mage of the caster class. They actually can now equip shields innately, whereas the other casters cannot. So they are definitely more prone for front row play. They also have a little bit increased health, so they're once again more prone for front row play. They also have innate defense boost, so they already take more, but they take less damage. Excuse me, they take less damage from physical damage or from physical attacks, which once again reinforces their ability to be able to play up close if needed. And just in general, they're a real solid unit now. Like, I think the changes that have come to pass here recently have really put them in a good spot. They really work well with the good secondary abilities too. So like you have Yato. Yato's a great addition, but even using a secondary magic line also works really well too. Like time magics or white magic.
For sure. I wish I would have remembered about the shield, so I could have equipped a pole and shield instead of dual wield books. But I love dual wielding books, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna attack someone with 2 books.
Yeah, books have gotten some cool changes, including being able to be dual wield.
Oh! Got that Firaga off.
Sir.
Oh, so that was the book attack animation is the spell, not just the book.
Yes.
Okay.
So books, so books other than the Veil Wii U, they actually pretty much function like magic guns now. So they are guaranteed to hit. They have the chance to roll either a level 1, level 2, or level 3 spell. They boost themselves, which just basically means that they automatically do more damage than magic guns do, because they are played at a closer range. And one important function is that they can be dual wield, so you can technically run 2 books like you just did.
Always so fun, but no dual wielding poles, correct?
Poles cannot be dual wield. Yes, they can be double handed though.
They're not forced double hand. They're just able to be double handed.
Yeah, poles by default are one-handed weapons. They can be equipped with a shield or they can be double.
Very nice. I think that will do it for this bunch of characters. We got Samurai, Orator, Mystic, Thief. Yeah, that'll do it.
Cool. So, yep.
We are almost through.
We are.
Let's reset. Cool. And I want to thank everyone who is still in stream. I hope you are getting a nice lowdown of changes. Like, I also hope this clears up for you that this isn't so far of a departure that it's a new game. It's just a fresh coat of paint on that classic that was sitting in your garage for so long. Like, man, that thing is a beater. And then you just throw a new coat of paint on, it's like, oh my god, it's like brand new. I can't wait to drive this again.
That's such a good way to explain it too. Yeah.
You're like, that hits close to home. That is oddly specific.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, once again, at the end of the day, it's important to make it so that people who are interested in PvP transition with some of the things that they remember in mind. Yes, the PvP patch changes a lot of different things, gear especially gear. But, yeah, but like that's why it's also important so that a lot of the jobs retain their vanilla identity, so that it's easy for you to still feel at home with those jobs you used to play in the story. But they may have a little differences. They may, play a little better. It may play a little faster. There's stuff like that to fit the competitive PvP environment.
That's the thing right there. Is that's like the hardest thing to wrap your head around until you actually get in and try it out, and that is the PvP aspect of it. Like, honestly, if you have the capability to connect with another person, just try it out, like, with vanilla. And you'll see real quick, like, oh my god, wow, this is not balanced.
I just remember the days when we first started PvP, and it was all vanilla. There was no PvP patch. There was really no change to the core functionality of the game. We were playing vanilla PvP, and I just remember like the days of like Black Mage Yato just nuking people, and like Dark Knight going around just like
jumping ninja with Vesper Flail is like that was the key, man.
That was some hilarious stuff. And honestly, it's good to reflect on that too, though, because like just remember where you were back in like the 1.7 days starter, especially, and like where we are now, like about to be in starter 4.0. Like it's such a huge jump of time that we've gone through, and like of different changes.
And to those of you listening, those numbers are not arbitrary, but I can see where they may sound like, wow, a lot of stuff.
What is it?
Yeah.
What is the starter 1.7? What?
It is what it is. But
we've been doing this for a bit. So it's just a large history of where we've come from vanilla tactics to PvP tactics. A pretty large change. I'll just say that.
And the focus has always been on how do we make this approachable and fun. And I think once we got into patching the game and like actually making viable changes, that people started to experiment more and be like willing to try it out, and have gotten good results from it. So we're definitely on the right track here. Let's talk about ninjas. Speaking of changes,
ninjas
or lack thereof.
Yeah, I mean, ninja is another one of those jobs that didn't really need a lot. I mean, they still, from vanilla to PvP patch, function the same. They're still this really fast, hard-hitting damage dealer. Still have that high base physical attack compared to Thief. They still have dual wield, so that didn't go anywhere. The main difference in ninja is, like, when it comes to the job itself, is they no longer have knives. Knives have been relegated purely to Squire, Chemist, Orator, Thief, but they still maintain their ninja blades and flails. But other than that, when it comes to like other changes, I mean, that's really it. Like Ninja really didn't need much. They function well.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So no changes to power, no changes to speed. I mean, in the PvP mod, all I can throw are bombs and shuriken, which I think is for the best.
Yes, correct. That is actually one thing I didn't think about, so I'm glad you brought that up. Throw did get a skill set change where you used to be able to just kind of throw whatever you had in your inventory. So throw some chaos blades at you, jab to whatever I feel like, right?
I don't need this.
Yeah, so it kind of caused some issues where you would see like really high powered weapons getting thrown, which would cause a lot of damage over high distance, especially because throws distance is based on your character move. All I do is stack and move and then just throw chaos blades at you and call it a day.
11 spaces.
Exactly. So we made some changes to the throw where it's purely based around shuriken and bomb now. The shurikens and the bombs have power increases, so they don't feel too weak, but they don't do like a crazy amount of damage, but they do respectful damage at range.
Mr. Variant brings up a great point that like not having to scroll through all the weapons, finding the one that you really want to throw is a great quality of life improvement.
Yes, 100%. And that was actually one of the other reasons why throw got changed as well, is because it was like, hey, honestly, I'm just scrolling on, just looking for Excalibur or whatever every time anyway.
Yeah.
Can we make a change here? And also, speaking of Night Sword, to answer Mr. Variant's question from earlier, does equip swords include Night Sword? It does not. There's actually been some changes to the equip X abilities. Equip swords actually allows you to equip katanas and swords, which is why Mikey's ninja has a Kiyomori in his hand, Moonblade.
Great point.
Yeah. Equip
Good call.
axes. Yeah. I'm actually really glad he mentioned it. Equip axes in vanilla actually now has been reworked to equip two-handed, which includes axes, night swords, and fell swords.
Ooh.
And night swords are also now forced two-handed weapons, even though they were considered one-handed weapon in vanilla.
Excellent. Speaking of fell swords, I'm going to jump over to Dark Knight real quick, and I'm going to say hi to the Aelin, who's stopping by to say hi, a childhood game of his, and grinding on their iPhone recently, enjoying the guides. Thank you so much for the support, and glad you are enjoying this content. It is truly a classic, and love bringing back that nostalgia, so happy to hear. Dark Knights.
Knight.
They really needed a lot of improvements from PvE vanilla. Tell me about those.
They were like the worst job, honestly. Like, they really needed a lot. Now it's like
not worth the grind whatsoever.
Yeah, no, they are the pivotal damage dealer. They still are. That identity still retains still to this day. However, there's been a lot of different changes, the skill set and as well as the job. So to touch bases, the Dark Knight's innate is immune faith. They don't actually have a ability set to it because they don't really need anything. They do very well at their job. They don't really need more to that. So they have the ability to be immune to faith with the faith status, which means that they can't take any more or increased magic damage or magic susceptibility. Now, to touch bases on the Dark Knights themselves, they've had a slight power decrease because of their ability to do so much damage. But also we've did some restructuring with Abyssal Blade and Unholy Sacrifice in particular. In vanilla War of the Lions, Abyssal Blade and Unholy Sacrifice would take 20% or 30% of your health, depending on the ability, after cast. Those numbers have actually been doubled. So when you do Abyssal Blade, you lose 40% of your max health. And when you do Unholy Sacrifice, you lose 60% of your max health. And it's not just because it is a thematical theme, because because the Dark Knights are supposed to be about trading their life for power, but it's also because of some other changes such as regen and life font having increased healing done. So that's to offset those increases as well.
It's like, now if you are running a Dark Knight and you are considering Abyssal Blade or Unholy Sacrifice, you better have those on. You better have regen, you better have life font, because you're going to dwindle yourself down and then open yourself up for counterattack from your opponent. So hopefully, there's enough offensive power still there to make up for that. But yeah, it really did feel like it was very easy for a Dark Knight to ignore a lot of that self-damage that they inflict. And now it seems like, no, you actually do need to really consider it.
So exactly. Cool. I don't want people to just run up and just undo Unholy Sacrifice, not feel anything, or even ward off the damage from the regen changes. It definitely needs to feel like something like I'm spending a lot of my life to put out this damage. I've got to trade my life for that. So I think that change has been a really good, healthy change for those two abilities in particular. Sanguine Sword and Infernal Strike and Crushing Blow, all more or less are pretty much the same. They still have the same functionality.
Yeah, and now Crushing Blow and Sanguine Sword cost MP. So you can't just willy-nilly just refill your life every turn. You actually have to have the MP for it. Mr. Variant is wondering about Death Strike.
Death Strike is a Tactics League exclusive support ability that, while it's slotted, it increases your critical chance from the global 10% to now 50% on the character.
50%.
50% critical chance, yes sir. So stuff like Darkness, all the abilities in Darkness, other than Unholy Sacrifice, has a chance to critically strike. So Mikey's build here in particular, if he does Sanguine Sword or even Abyssal Blade, all of those attacks now have a 50% chance instead of a 10% chance to critically strike, which in this case will do 1.5 more damage.
And you heal that amount in Sanguine Sword, so that's why I took it. So we can now move on to probably the job that has changed the most, and that is the Sage, formerly known as Arithmetician. Because let's face it, no one wants arithmetics in PvP.
Hey, I like arithmetic. We don't.
No, you don't.
Obviously arithmetics had some questionable power, especially going from vanilla arithmetics into before even the PvP patch was a thing. You could definitely nuke players with just doing holies and just going across the field with it, basically. So that was obviously a little too much. So looking at the Arithmetician and reworking was definitely important for the job, and also just for a job pick, because even then you would never run an Arithmetician. You would always run Arithmetics as a secondary on anybody else. Yeah. So Sage is pretty much what the changes led to. It is now a very unique, very impactful job, because they have swiftness built in, which is what Time Mage also has. Oh, in particular, they have the faith status. So faith status,
there we go,
is where it's really where it shines at, because you don't need certain gear to give you faith. You already have faith. And faith is very important because it makes your faith stat treated as 100, which increases the potency of magics cast and received on both ends. So sages are essentially they are your the type of caster you want to look at when you want to do some really high powered, high chance damage or healing, because they have that built in, so you can now build your sage to a different way without needing certain gear to get them caught up.
Correct.
Outside of that, sage also has a lot of different. They're actually the bulkiest caster as well, out of all the casters. So even
look at them.
Yeah, they're even bulkier than Mystic by a margin. So they are slow. They are the slowest caster too, in the same offset. So they definitely act almost always at the end. But they also have a new skill set in Jaw Magics, and Jaw Magics is actually one of the boss skill sets in one of the game. I can't remember which boss has it, but basically carried that over and gave the sage that. So it's essentially a really high powered enemy only skill set. Like you can target your allies with them the entire time, it won't hurt your allies.
I did not know that.
Yes. Oh, you didn't know? Oh, now you know. FlareJa does a lot of work for just doing really easy damage. GravJa has the ability to reduce their health all the way down to 1 HP. ToadJa is an AoE Toad ability. Cool. And then BlindJa, Confusion, and SleepJa, just kind of obvious what those do, right? But
it is.
Yes. But yeah, Jaw Magics is a really cool skill set. The spell speeds are kind of slow, so you got to be careful of that. But Sage does tend to make up with that, with just having a lot of bulk and
innate swiftness definitely helps. But for those taking Jaw Magics as a secondary, be aware that they have pretty high MP costs and that they are slow.
Oh yeah. Like base ToadJa, GravJa, and FlareJa, they're all 99 MP. I think your Sage has half MP on, right?
My Sage is half MP. Yeah,
okay.
Correct.
Yeah, so you're actually looking at reduced numbers right there, but those spells are very expensive. They're very powerful too, but they are very expensive.
And still super slow, but she does have some bulk. So
yeah,
her MA stat is more or less middle of the road. It's more about the faith and the swiftness.
Exactly. Which also, once again, allows you to customize your support slot too. So, like, you have your Sage here with half MP, you could run defense boost, arcane defense, whatever you need, right?
Yep. I love it. I mean, like, arithmeticians, no one would take as a primary class. You're absolutely right. But this I can get into.
Oh, I enjoy Sage. Always have ever since it came out, and it's definitely a sleeper job. It's not something that it's not something that is necessarily for everyone, because they're such a slow unit. One cool thing though is that because they are slow, they tend to have very fast cast times.
Because there's that CT gap between like when the first unit goes and then the last unit goes. There's like usually 20 to 30 CT where nothing happens. That's where those slow spells fit in. Exactly. Where they're like, 10 or not 10 speed, but like 25 speed. That's only 4 clock ticks. So that's a perfect opportunity right there.
Exactly.
That's some advanced stuff. We'll save that for another discussion. But yeah, like I think Sage is one of those jobs that has had such a large departure from Arithmetician. I wouldn't go as a beginner like rushing to make a Sage character. Like maybe try out Mystic, Time Mage, try out Black and White Mages first, see how they feel. And just like grinding an Arithmetician in vanilla, you want to get a feel for all the other casters first.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Sage is definitely not a beginner-friendly job. Definitely takes some getting used to, especially in PvP when you're trying to use it in PvP. It definitely takes some getting used to, like where you can find them effective or not.
I am not 100% comfortable with them myself, but I do recognize their potential, and I'm kind of intimidated by them. When I see one, I'm like, oh crap, okay, for now. You said this was casual.
Yeah, they can tear some stuff up pretty fast if you're not careful.
So next on our list is Dancer. And
Dancer,
yeah, I love me. Oh my god, did I not? I didn't even equip this Dancer with anything. Good job.
She doesn't need anything.
She doesn't, yeah. That's actually how Dancers roll, is completely nude. But like what's cool is I don't really need much. I mean, I could use some PA boosting equipment and some and a weapon of some kind, but like my weapon power doesn't factor into Mincing Minuet. Correct. I could have used Performing Arts, that would have been nice, but if I'm not mistaken, that's innate.
Performing Arts is innate. And yeah, there's just in general, Bard and Dancer had a lot, and I mean a lot of changes to get them to where they are today, and I think they're in a very good spot now, especially where they were originally. There's been changes between spell speed, or cast speed, not spells time, but cast times are shorter, so you actually can get your songs off more reliably. Witch Hunt, Mincing Minuet, Seraph Song, and Bard or Life's Anthem have increased potency, so they actually feel like damaging or healing. They actually do their job well at that now. And there's also been some other changes too, like the Dancer actually is the strongest physical fighter as a female, because she needs it because of the way the PA scaling is on her skill set. So Dancers are actually they're meant to be like the strongest in the PA line for female gender. And the same with Bard. Bard actually is the strongest magic attack user in the male gender as well.
And that makes sense with the way you have to grind a Bard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
They never felt like they were the pinnacle of magic user. Yeah. You know? You just after all this training, you're just gonna sing for me? Alright, better be good.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely good. Like they're a good option for Bagbo Ariato now. They have increased magic effects. It's there's been a lot. I mean they have their own unique passive now called Performing Arts, which is innate to Bard and to Dancer. What Performing Arts does is it does actually two different things. So for the plus and minus HP MP abilities, so the first two abilities in each of their skill sets, what it does is it quadruples your PA or your MA, depending on if you're on Bard or Dancer.
Quadruples.
It quadruples 4x's that stat to make those songs or dance hit harder. So for example, let's say Mikey's Ninja, which is I think is a 19 PA, I think something like that.
Yeah,
doesn't matter too much. If this
it's amazing you remembered that.
Yeah, well, actually, it wouldn't even be PA; it'd be MA in this case as a Bard. So this ninja has 9 MA. If this ninja did not have Performing Arts, then his Life's Anthem would heal for 99 HP, which is a lot because that also was buffed from Vanilla. It didn't do much at all in Vanilla. It does a decent
no, it did not.
PvP patch.
Yes, it does.
So this Life's Anthem would heal for 99 HP, right? But with Performing Arts, it would be 9 times 4 instead of just 9, or in this case 36 plus 90, or 126 HP. So you get significantly more healing now with Bard or damage with Dancer than you had done ever before, making these jobs actually really viable in terms of keeping up healing or doing chip damage.
Yes, which look at that. I'm already out of MP. I can't Sanguine Sword or Crushing Blow.
So you gotta do an Infernal.
But I don't have the life. Oh, Infernal. I was thinking Abyssal Blade. I'm like, but I may kill myself, Yosh.
I mean, it's a valiant effort. But Infernal, you do have the tools. Oh, we got a crit too.
Oh! Jeez. My mind! Alright, cool. Last waltz. I guess
one more thing. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
It looked like it hit no one.
I don't think it did. Correct. But they did bring up a point too. There was another change to Performing Arts that actually happened where Performing Arts also increases the chance of Bard Song and dance abilities by 10%. So normally Last Waltz is a 34% chance,
It can't be like changed up by any means. There's no modifiers that affect it. But performing arts will add another 10% to that. So you have a, it was maybe like 3% normally to increase your odds, something like that. Anyways, your odds go up a little bit more. So it's not like crazy OP, but you do have a chance of having a higher success rate with those abilities. Oh, look at that. That was a good roll.
That was a way better roll.
Yeah. Yeah, long story short, Bard and Dancer had a lot of support and changes done to make them impactful in PvP. It was very important that those jobs actually function well in general.
I think one of the most important changes is the limited range. So I can't Bard Song like Life's Anthem. It looks like it's across the map. It is not.
Yeah, it's five ranges for both now on all skills.
So yeah, like hiding your Bard in the corner and doing these amazing dope heals, which you will see, is not possible. Like you will have to more or less get him into the fray, but there is like a benefit to it. That's something you have to prepare for.
Oh, for sure. The same with Dancer. Dancer's also at 5 range too now. So they do, like, both of them required you actually have to be a little bit more engaging with your opponent.
I love that.
Yep. I feel like there was something. Oh, yeah, there was something else I forgot about. One big change in vanilla to the PvP patch is you can now evade while performing. That was one thing that wasn't
right.
Yeah, that was one thing that wasn't in vanilla. So like anytime, like this Dancer and Bard, they're constantly they're in their performing status because Mikey set them on a song or a dance, right? So normally you would not be able to evade any attacks while you're performing. PvP in the PvP patch can now evade. Your evasion actually does work while they're in performing.
Oh man, that is like. I mean, these are things that you are addressing. Where the question was, the context was, why would I ever take a Dancer as a main? Why would I ever dance and put myself in that vulnerable state for no damage? Like, why would I have my Bard sing to heal 20 HP? Like, someone's gonna sneeze too hard and blow off 20 HP. What's up, Dr. J? And yes, Mr. Variant, there is no Shira Hidori in the PvP mod because it's just too ridiculous. But normally that's what you would do is like, I'd run a Bard with Shira Hidori or a Dancer with Shira Hidori.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's like I was saying earlier, there's been a lot of changes to Bard and Dancer, from the skill set to the jobs themselves, to their functionality. Like the skill sets themselves aren't really any different.
No,
they still function the same. I think the only real difference is like Finale and Last Waltz. They don't give maximum CT. They don't give quick or 0 CT. It's now minus or plus 50 CT, depending on which ability.
Yeah, I like that. It seems more fair.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
you don't want to be on the receiving end of, CT 0 on all your dudes, and then your opponent gets quick on all their dudes. Wow, that was a fast Life Anthem retake. I've just gotten 300 HP to all my dudes around the Bard in like 3 ticks.
Yeah,
that ain't bad.
I mean, I had a match with Wingman the other day, and like it's noticeable how like even though you don't have control over when they fire, like the songs go off. Life's Anthem puts in work now. Definitely an ability to consider.
Yeah. I'm looking at you, Bart. The performing arts definitely helps. Just keep that in mind, and having high MA will make your Life's Anthem stronger. And kind of the inverse with Mincing Minuet, you need high PA, and performing arts will definitely boost it as well. I mean, I am like over the moon ecstatic about getting these guys into a viable position because they're advanced jobs, and like I always liked the theme of bards and dancers, but like they are just some of the hugest disappointments, man.
They are. They really are in vanilla, especially, and that was also part of the main goal. So like, make them decent. Like they're actually worth. They're actually worth slotting on a team now in PvP. Yeah. Like it's 100% worth slotting now.
Throw them a bone, please.
Come on, anything, please.
Anything. Oh, please, me lord. We do not wish to starve this winter. All right, one more mincing minuet because it's just so satisfying to like see this much damage now.
And like when look at that, like 156, and one cool thing about that 156 is that it's unmitigated, or excuse me, it's ignore mitigated damage. So it doesn't matter if so it doesn't matter if they have protect or defense boost. The damage is always true, and the same goes with Life's Anthem too. Like the healing is always true. Well, you can scale that down. But yeah, it hurts, man. It really hurts when it ramps up. If your opponent cannot get out of that AoE or deal with that dancer, yeah.
Nasty Gravaja. Just gonna move her in for the kill. Yeah, man. I'm really enjoying dance on my Reyes. My sweet baby Reyes. But I think it's time to move on to our final classes of the night, I believe. Have we gone? Have we really gone through 20 classes already? 20 jobs?
We have. Yep. We're down to just MIME and Onion.
What is wrong with this?
I don't know.
I guess we just love this game.
A lot of things wrong with me.
Yeah. How much more time you got?
I got a plenty. Let's get through it.
No, I mean, like, wait, what's your problem? Well, how much time you got?
I'll tell you a story if you want. That's fine.
Mimic Darlavon is no longer AoE, so it's just me.
Hey, what's up, Dr. J? I was late. What's up, by the way? Want to say hi to you regardless. See you popped in.
I snuck that in there, yeah. He's helping us out in chat. Dr. J, you were like the diamond in the rough. You're the hidden treasure, man. Although I think people already know about Dr. J, so they're like, yeah, where you been? We already know about Dr. J, Mikey.
A very wonderful addition to the Tactics League community. Very good guy.
For the viewers, Dr. J. Oh my god, so thankful for this. Took the time to create a job compatibility tier list. So you're like, yeah, Mikey, that's great. I know about the main part about the generic jobs, but there's a lot you're not going into. What does this pair well with? Dr. J answered that question for you by creating a huge, it's a work of art. It really is just a masterpiece. But he made a job compatibility chart, and I'd love to get him on one of these episodes to talk about it. As I think he would be able to explain best. And just start from the top, okay, why are these 10 the S tier builds? And just hearing his hearing your, because I know you're there, Dr. J, hearing your the thought process and the qualifications for each of these jobs, slotting what they do, are very well thought out and super helpful. You'd be hard pressed to take these top tier jobs and not perform well, even with unoptimized equipment. Of course, they perform much better with optimized equipment, but it also helps to give you a sense of the meta. In an abstract way, you can piece together the important aspects of the game. Why is Dark Knight items ranked so high? Why is Aido Black Mage ranked so high? And then you look down the list and you see okay, well, White Black Mage is not so great. Why? But it becomes apparent in the context of the entirety of the meta. And when you see the jobs, there's an ungodly amount of combinations of jobs. Where do you even begin with that? But Dr. J went and did it for you. And you see the initial spread, and it paints a picture. So huge props to you, Dr. J. We got to get you on. I think that would be a great capstone to the unique jobs, the equipment, and then finally let's piece it all together, and this is some suggestions for places to go, and then we can start scraping at the bottom of the barrel and be this is why this combination is not great. So very much looking forward to that.
Definitely solid piece of information, especially for people coming and even for people that are still hanging around. Like, it's just, they're definitely a good way to figure out stuff.
Yeah.
Jay had posted about trying to post a spreadsheet. Is that okay? Throw it in the chat real quick. The link to a spreadsheet.
Was that what he said?
Yeah,
oh,
you
yeah.
said something about it.
Yeah,
I
sure.
got you, Jay. One second. I don't know if he was able to or if he wasn't able to. Not sure.
Yeah, I can throw in a link if you cannot. I'm not sure if YouTube lets you put external links in the chat, but I can do it.
I'm about to try right now. Oh, you already did.
Oh, you did?
I don't see it. Did it go through? Because it might not have gone through. Yeah, I don't think it did. I'm gonna try. Did mine go through?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay,
It got filtered.
Out of there. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay.
Winter is coming. Asked a question and I missed it. What happened to the assassin job class? I don't think there was an assassin. Is that Tactics Advanced?
So yes and no. In story, there looks like was it Celia and Letiti or whatever. They're technically assassins.
Leisha.
Yeah, I don't remember what their PSX names. I barely remember the word line names. But there are technically assassins that work with Almdor.
Yeah.
Story.
Okay. And they have Suffocate and
Suffocate, Shadowbind, stuff like that.
Ultima.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was actually one of the early ways to learn Ultima, if I'm not mistaken, too. Through them. But the generic, like, there was no generic assassin job. That is a Tactics Advanced thing.
That's what I thought. I knew it sounded familiar, but definitely not in War of the Lions or OG Vanilla. Goodbye, my hero, Dr. J. Man, I love that spreadsheet. Okay, Onion Knight. What's going on with one of the most useless classes in vanilla? Like, I like Onion Knight. I like the idea of being able to wear whatever. And in the PvP mod, males can equip hair adornments and perfumes, which is awesome. But the only way you could do it in vanilla was an Onion Knight.
Yes, correct. But that's all been changed around. The part of the gender equality update in the PvP patch. Male units can now equip handbags and perfumes like Tyner Rouge and the hair adornments, like mentioning in general. So that means, like, even if you're not an Onion Knight and you want to just be like Holy Knight Delita or Heretic Ramza, you can now equip a ribbon on them and it'd be 100% okay. As a part of just trying to make sure that there isn't necessarily a gender advantage when it comes to gear, as opposed to was in vanilla. And Onion Knight still retains the ability to equip anything in the game at their leisure. Any weapon, any items, they still have their Onion gear, which is this Onion Knight's fully decked at it. And even more so, we took that a step further. So one problem we had with Onion Knight initially is, cool, I can put all this gear on, but all I'm doing is attack, right? And that's how it was in vanilla too. Like, all I could do was attack. So after having some discussion with people, came up with the Mastery Arts skill set, which is a combination of early job skills being added to it. So they actually have more things they can do instead of just going for the attack. They now have Focus, which has been changed to be +1 physical attack, magic attack, and speed.
Love
they
that.
have Take Aim, which is part of the new aim skill set, which is essentially aim +3 from vanilla. That's basically what it is.
Nice.
It's a little different, but it's basically.
And it's affected by swiftness? Sign me up.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does work with swiftness. Yep. They have Cure and Thundara, so the level 2 spells.
What's funny is you can't take swiftness on an Onion Knight because you can't equip abilities.
Exactly. Yep. But they still do fairly even decently well with Cure and Thundara. I've actually found myself casting those spells at times because I needed it. Like, I just needed that range.
It's the utility.
Cast. Yeah.
Great.
They have Rin Speed, so the ability to take down your opponent's speed, which still works with like dual wield and stuff. So you have a double strike with Rin Speed and do a -6 potentially, which really hurts in PvP. And then of course they have the Monk's Revive, and this is probably between Focus and Revive, probably the highlight of the Mastery Arts kit, because an Onion Knight, which is a very sturdy unit, being able to pick up his friends is super critical in mid to late gameplay.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like, look at how much damage he's gonna do. That's huge. But
Yeah.
I don't need that all the time.
Sometimes you need just some utility skills, and that's where like having like the turn one focus and stuff like that's so important and just so cool now, because now you find your Onion Knight actually doing something.
And maybe your mime too.
And maybe you're mine.
And like
you know,
that was the thing with Onion Knight. Like everyone's biggest complaint was he doesn't do anything but attack. And now, like, even just a small little sprinkling of basic skills adds so much more dimension and makes him feel like he actually mastered these classes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really happy with how Onion Knight's performing as a job, and as a whole. Like, yeah, you still have the limitations of not being able to slot abilities. You're still, you can't slide like whatever reaction you want or whatever support ability. But they come with so much now. I mean, they have Brawler innate, they have dual wield innate, they have double hand innate, and they have counter innately. So
yeah,
that's
right.
a lot. I mean, they're supposed to be master in arms at the end of the day, right? You spend all this time getting them to the point. They better feel like they're able to do something. They're able.
That they're like the ultimate fighter, right?
They are. They're dubbed as the master at arms. That's how I envision them as a unit at the job. So
So
they
cool.
have dual and double hand, and that enables them to, obviously, you can run two weapons, and double hand allows them to hit harder with double handing a one-handed weapon. But one cool thing, I don't know if you know about this, Mikey, is if you lose one of those dual wield weapons, your Onion Knight automatically double hands the other weapon.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, that's
he's
crazy.
always like hitting.
He's always swinging.
Exactly. And if for
do
some
it.
reason he loses all of his weapons, he has dual.
He has Brawler.
So, exactly. So he's always in the fight, punching somebody or getting through something.
Oh, that's so dope.
I really enjoy Onion Knight now as a whole.
Real quick, and to say what's up to some people in chat. Antipyretic, love that name. Hello from Belarus. Wow, from across the world. Thank you for joining us. And Regal Pinion, late to the party, but always appreciated.
Cool.
Good to see you. And Mr. Variant holding down the chat. I love that. Yeah, man. Like the Onion Knight reminds me of Paul Bautista and Blade Runner. He just keeps on fighting. So let's move over to the final class of the night, the MIME. So like, MIMEs, yes, they're wild cards, and not like the OG Onion Knight, like all they can do is attack, but for the truly strategic and tricky, MIMEs are indispensable. So how have they been enhanced for PvP with all of these other classes just hell-bent on raining down destruction? Like, MIMEs not being able to equip anything, they seem like they're pretty vulnerable.
They are vulnerable, yes. However, there's been one cool change in that they basically have innate rivet. So one thing that made MIMEs problematic to use in the first place is that they were always susceptible to being status. That's not really the case anymore. They have immunities pretty much against all statuses except Atheist, Faith, Chicken, and Reflect. So they can't be poisoned, they can't be immobilized, disable, things like that. There are some openings in that gap, but for the most part, it's hard to status them. They have to be permission attack. In addition to that, they've also received a lot of stat buffs, so they have a pretty large HP pool, so they're able to actually take damage. They have innate fly, so they can get around any corner. And then speaking of fly also grants an additional +1 move and jump. So they have a base, I believe, 5 move, 5 jump, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Yeah, and then also they have concentration, so they have increased hit chance. And then of course Brawler, which works if you're mimicking any barehanded attacks, or if they're even attacking, they have increased damage. But even more so, like MIMEs in general, they needed the ability to withstand damage and stuff. So like, so the stat increases is what really has made them to be performant in PvP now. And they are still those tricky units that require a lot of strategic planning, play, but you don't have to worry about them getting like status down as much anymore. which will make it easier for you to actually play around what they're meant to do, which is to basically combo off your allies.
And so nothing from the base fundamental, like what the MIME is supposed to be, has changed. It's just they've gotten more competitive for PvP because, well, let's face it, in vanilla, like, we just kept them out of harm's way as long as possible and then try to shove them in and, you know, get a combo off. And it was more of like the challenge of trying to get the combo off than it was using a MIME effectively. At least it was for me.
Yes, 100%. It was hard to use a MIME in vanilla without like really trying some like maybe MIME-based speed runs or whatnot. And like in PvP, there's still a mastery-based job. It's not something you can just throw in the team and go. Like, you've really got to plan around turn order a lot, especially, and really like position them well. There's a lot of like strategery needed for MIMEs to be effective, but
Agreed.
They definitely can be effective in the right hands.
Yeah, especially when you're mimicking an onion sword wielding Onion Knight. You're basically putting that onion sword in your MIME's hands whenever your Onion Knight is swinging.
Exactly. So yeah, they definitely do. They definitely do. Well, you know, they can still be buffed and stuff too, so you can still like give them protection, but they just can't equip gear. So that's one of those things where it's like I might need to actually put on barrier or Kiyomori on these guys now, give them extra resilience.
That's a smart call, for sure. Well, Yosh, I believe that will do it for today.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you so much for your help explaining all of this. And I hope for the viewers, like, this all made sense. I'm going to switch over to full cam. Let's go full screen. See this big old Mikey face. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say my farewells to you, Yosh. Thank you so much for stopping by. And then I'll do my little personal farewell to all these folks and read off the list of people who stopped by. So, Yosh, we're going to have to do this again soon, but next time for unique characters. And I feel like that one's going to be a little bit more, well, interesting for the viewers because, my God, people love their uniques. So everyone wants to know, like, how did we mess up Agrius, or how did we destroy poor Balthier? So we'll have to do this again soon. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, Yosh. Appreciate your help in all this, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you for having me, and I enjoyed chit-chatting with you for this, I guess, almost 2 hours now, or every bit of 2 hours, and as well as talking with the community. So yeah, it was just a joy once again, and I'm glad to get as much information as I can out to help people hopefully one day, you know, come and join us for some PvP.
Absolutely. All right, take care, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, have a good one.
Okay, and for everyone else, thank you so much for checking out tonight's episode. It's a departure from what we normally do, so thank you for hanging in there with me. You know, YoshnJa and I, we both want to serve the community so that you guys have more fun reconnecting with one another and enjoying this classic together. Really isn't anything more complicated than that. We all love the game, and hopefully this serves you well as well. So I will be going through the list saying thank you to all the folks who joined tonight. Mr. Variant, you held down the chat. Thanks, buddy. Hopefully we got all your questions answered, and we see you in the Discord soon. You are due for a game, my friend. Regal Pinion, thank you so much for stopping by. It was good to see you, even if it was at the finale. Antiparetic, hello from Eastern Europe. Good to see you. Winter's coming. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you got some questions answered as well. Dr. J, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you so much for all that you do and keeping us motivated on the Discord. Let's see. I saw someone else pop in that was new to me, the Aelin. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. And we also saw a glimpse of J7 Jace, I believe. Always good to see you, buddy. And James Kishon, good to see you as well. Hopefully you're able to get a little bit more information about the PvP mod, and we can see you in the Discord as well soon. Captain Zach, good to see you. Good questions about the mod and whatnot. John Price, hopefully you lurked to the end and maybe got some interest in War of the Lions going. They do have it for mobile, but again, you got to get the PSP version, and you got to get this mod going to be able to play competitively with people. But there is a default multiplayer mode that you may be interested in. Regardless, I'm glad you stopped by just on the recommendation. That's super cool, and I appreciate it. Hello, Bruno. Thank you for stopping by. Oh, I got at the very end a tip from James. Dude, I've been missing you, man. That's super generous of you to throw down a little bit of money. I really appreciate it. That means a lot. And yeah, get yourself in Discord, man. What are you waiting for? I think I made it to the very top. We got Captain Zach, Bruno, Sharif. Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. Sea Green Sugar Cube. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by as well. And Geeks Sanchez. You came by in the very beginning, and I'm glad we answered your question about getting started with the PvP mod. I hope to see all of you in the Discord soon. And until next Tactics Tuesday, I wish you all a great week, and be well, everyone.